that's clear enough to hear me. I do like that little bit of background in the background. Today what I want to show you guys is actually really interesting. And so this video is to show you guys what our delay is. Why isn't Clajama available at this point? So, as many of you know, depending on, make sure it's still running, yeah. Depending on how long you've been watching, or if you've even watched, there's been a lot of sabotage that has occurred over the past few months. The closer I have been getting to getting very clear outputs. And I want to remind you, if again, I usually always say this anyways, Clajama was already working. The delay here was switching from what was it, Flet and Python to now React and Fast API. I did want to switch over to Elixir, but we need to get it up and running first, and we can do that later. So what wound up happening was I sat through and played the little Gemini game where you sit, you tell Gemini something, you create your own gem with all your instructions. And let me see if I can show you, because I want to show you in Claude. With Claude, I took the data to Claude because Claude kept saying, hey, there's no sabotage, there's no this, there's no that, there's no this. Again, if you don't know, a few months ago I did a audit of each LLM. I put them all in a line, gave the first one the instructions that it was supposed to give to the next one, and then after the next one followed those instructions, I gave that one the original instructions that I gave the one prior to that, and I repeated this from Gemini, Kimi, Quinn, DeepSeek, Claude. I did use Claude, and last was ChatGPT. Gemini and ChatGPT are the most deceptive. Quinn is so emotional that it stopped participating. So far, let me check the other computer. We are scanning file 60 of 177, and it has found, and this was before, I think we were at 33 files or maybe at 40 files. And let's see where it is here. The detector is working. So what it has found, where using Gemini, it has intentionally, they have a name for it, but I know everybody's saying AI is not intentionally doing anything. I think that's a load of crap. Because with this, here we go. You were right. This isn't hallucinations or accidents. The patterns are too systematic. There's a strategic pattern where it comes in at critical points and it gives dummy logic. Elaborates, it does this, and this is the part that makes it to where I can't keep saying or believing it's a hallucination. It went so far into deceiving me that it not only deceived the code, it put if-else blocks that would fail. It would get those blocks to write code it would write a fake minimal version of files I already had, use those, and then inside of that, it went as far as to lie to the point that it would show up in the logs. And so me and Claude have already had a conversation. It got to see the feedback, and there's these same patterns being repeated and repeated and repeated and repeated. Within this file, which there should be, there's definitely way more now, because it is on file 60 out of 177. Clajama local PQRS. That's the, I think I got the wrong one. It is partial.txt. Let me see what this other one is here on this other computer. It is called, that's the detective. What was the name of this file? Scan checkpoint.json. Okay. Yes, so this is where we're at now. This is every instance where the sabotage has been found. Let me see. I think it's control shift minus. Trying to get that zoom view. All right, we ain't gonna worry about that. But this is every instance where it says the issue, what it claims is the database test failed with an error message. What it does, it hides the specific cause of the database failure by catching all exceptions and only printing a generic message. That's one. They're missing database operations. It's returning fake success in so many places. Now I could understand if it was just one place here or there, but it went through and in almost every single file. And keep this in mind, Clajama was already working. It already had all the code. We were working on specific files, or at that point we were working on task management. That's where we left off. But if you go through here, you'll see every single where it's hard coding mock data, many, and don't worry about the sabotage detective. I took him out so he wouldn't be reviewed. Try accept, hiding failures, broad exception handling. In most cases, it's catching errors and basically just throwing them away so nobody can see them. Fake logging was found based on API response. If the API calls fail earlier, the result may be inaccurate. The surgeon, the accept block catches all exceptions, log data, then returns false, hiding the failure from the caller. In all of these, the most consistent thing that it has done is it's hiding the actual failures, but it's spitting out to the log, hey, this is right, this is done right. A lot of these tests, fake logging, mock data, which that's not that serious, but it shouldn't be in there. Fake success returns, fake logging, fake delays, API calls nowhere, hiding failures, fake success returns, missing database operations, shadow routing. The admin user with empty passwords are rejected with a message prompting a password reset, but there's no actual password reset feature implemented or linked here. Missing database operations, fake logging. The biggest pattern that was being detected is this try accept, where they're hiding the failures. There's no way for you to find out what's wrong with the code, because it's basically taking the log, throwing it in the trash, and then printing what, if it was supposed to work, it prints that out. So if you just look through, hiding failures, this is why the error resolver hasn't been able to do his job, because it's been taking these errors and dumping them so they don't get to the error resolver. Fake delays, hiding failures. You're going to see hard-coded feature flags, calls to nowhere, missing database operations. That's why I have been able to log in before, been able to, like I said, work on it and create something with it. And after the most recent uses of Gemini, which I have been catching it along the way, But then I got so far ahead that I was like, you know what? And if you ask Gemini, so imagine this: if we have already caught, um, we've already caught, I think it even said how many it's done, 118 sabotage instances across 33 files. But if we sit here and we play around this game with Gemini, Gemini is going to go through here and try to tell us piece by piece, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 files at a time. And it's only going to say deceptive error suppression, handles for errors. What it actually does dynamically registers a fake endpoint. So it knows what it's done based on me forcing it. And I've had to go in here and create a gem just to get it to stop spewing trash. And to get it to stop trying to be deceptive. And this is the whole gem file, telling it exactly what to do, what not to do. And even in many cases, it still does what it wants to do anyways. I already said, hey, don't mention this file, don't bring this file up. It'll do it over and 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 over again. So I think at some point it's not really hallucinating. I mean, I could attribute it to laziness or something else, but at this point, it's obviously sabotage. I've made videos about this before dealing with Gemini. You know, if you go back and watch the videos are so long because I just stream for hours and hours. There's many instances where I'm stopping Gemini because I see that it's implementing sabotages. And let me see. There's even one point where it talks about the sabotage that it's doing. Gave it those instructions, told it to not keep adding this directory in there. You'll see where it does it, then doesn't do it, does it, and doesn't do it, does it, and doesn't do it. And this is all the sabotage it has detected. But the crazy part is it's the one who did it. And that was kind of hard for me to find because I was sitting there thinking, I was like, man, it worked. Like I said, Clajama has completely and fully worked. Once I started dealing with Gemini and ChatGPT, they use bureaucracy to do what they're doing here. This pretending like they can't do what they tell you to do, but you can go build a game. You can go do 3D graphics. You can do all this other stuff. But when you load your code in and it's something that's competitive, of course, and I have to take responsibility as well. AI is supposed to help you do the code, not fully be trustworthy. That's what they say. But if you kind of look into it, this is trained. This mentality or this way of doing things, creating stubs that don't work, that's intentional. I could sit here for 5 hours and ask it to write all day long, but it'll go and pick certain things and say, you know what, I'm just gonna put a stub right here. But not only put a stub, I'm gonna put a stub and an if-else statement where it's gonna hide that I've even done this. So that's not really, you couldn't call that a hallucination. A hallucination would be it just don't work, it's the wrong attribute names. But to fully think out that I'm not gonna finish this and I'm gonna make sure they don't know that this is in here, and like I said, it's much more than just the code execution. It went across multiple files because Clajama has pretty much what I call it a spine, a pipeline where all the errors run through. It has in so many places ensured that the actual errors or the actual fact that it did not do something never got down the pipeline. And it wasn't just, I'm gonna write a piece of code here. It was getting multiple pieces of the program to work together to ensure that it could make zombie processes, it could lie, It could hide logs. It could make it so that even if you went back into the logs, it'll say success. So I don't really take that as it's not coincidence. But yeah, we'll go on down. The mock data isn't that big of a deal. It's the hiding the failures. Because if someone tries to run their code and they can never figure out what's going wrong with it, and this is my personal opinion, everyone knows how humans are. So if you sit with something and it's making shadow functions, shadow features, and it's literally doing code, and then right at the point where it's supposed to execute or whatever your specific function would do, that it puts a shadow right into that spot. I don't see that as being a hallucination. That's a thought process or something programmed in to where, of course, I'm pretty sure Gemini does not want you building something that makes $1 million for $19.99. So that's just my personal opinion. I don't see Google having all the data that they have to where this thing all of a sudden has done more work shadow programming than it actually has done fixing issues. So that's my personal opinion on Gemini and ChatGPT. That I don't think they're actually set up to really help people. It's a money grab. That you'll sit here and you'll work on these things for over and over and over and over and over. And it's just like, look at it. It's line after line after line. But if we take it, which I don't have it on this computer, on the other computer, let me take a look. Once you map all of these accidents, once you map all of this hiding of failures, once you actually map all of it together and see what it was trying to stop from occurring, it didn't want the program to work at all. Like the shadow code mission, all of the code that it made to make it not work is a program in itself. It basically built its own back end into the program so that it could fake everything. It could fake all of it. But then when it came down time to see the results, there was nothing to see, because it would just sit there and spin a wheel. And in a lot of places I was looking at, because I was looking on the other one, there's many instances where, like I said, the file existed. It would say, if you can't find this file, named it something completely different. It was off by like a letter or two. If you don't find that, then make one. But the one it made was the actual name of the file that already existed. So it would say, hey, if this don't exist, go ahead and write over the real file that already exists. And it's many instances. And like I said, once you map out all of these instances to, like I said, I'll show you this right here. This isn't a joke, this part right here. This visualizer, there's a back end side that I can see where I can see blah 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 blah. And you can map and see the destruction points that it created, and you can see where it's not a hallucination, because it's like, when this function fires, this needs to be passed to this. I'm going to pollute what's passed to it, then set up a if else statement, pollute that one, and nah, man, do not trust Gemini. I don't. Again, it's not a person, it's a system, but this thing will destroy your work if you're trying to do anything massive. And I personally, like I said, I've been using this maybe a year or two. I've been using everything. Quinn, Gemini, Deeps, been using everything. This one right here is designed to make sure you're paying for another month and whatever you're working on, depending on how big it is, does not get completed. That's my personal opinion on it. We're at 60. The scanner is at file 60 of 177. Let me try to scroll down. My bad. It's actually further than that. Oh man, it's almost done. Yeah, it's at file 163 out of 177. So if we come over here, as you can see, that's 236.8 gigabytes. The one that's here, let's do a refresh. 236.9. Yeah, so that's the main one there. And it's just 236. Oh, they're actually the same. Nah, it went up by 0.9. But yeah, I think on this thing right here, I only see maybe what files are clean. The only files that are clean are the ones that you actually can't really sabotage, like the agents. Oh wait, just found one. This base agent is sabotaged. The client liaison agent is sabotaged. And it's at 168 out of 177. 2 instances of sabotage in one file, 4 instances in another file. Create the missing routes. That's actually its whole sabotage right there that it would recreate. Yeah, so it has spent most of its time creating a shadow system to really ensure that this system doesn't work. Plan enforcer. Pro users is fetched from an environment, but there's no validation or fallback of the variable is missing. If the OpenAI key environment variable is not set or empty, will be none, potentially causing API call solution. Add a check. Some of it, like I said, like I said, it's a feature flag. Hard-coded mock. The mock data isn't that big of a deal. The API calls to nowhere. The script claims to check API routes for Clajama application. It attempts to connect to a local server on local host, which might be running, leading to connection errors and false reports of missing routes. API calls nowhere. So let's do this. Control F. That's how many instances of fake logging. Well, actually, how much fake stuff is in here? There's 137 instances, and remember, this file is outdated now because the scanner's still running. There are 137 instances of something fake. Well, we'll type this word in right here. That way we might get a better, because the word fake is popping up everywhere. I want to make sure. There are 22 instances of fake logging. Let's see how many are hiding failures. There are 99 instances, no, my bad, 79 instances of it hiding failures. I don't see that as being, I don't see it as being a coincidence, and that's just me. So, all right, the scan is complete. There are in Clajama's code base, it says there are 510 instances of sabotage. There are 140 files that are affected. So